Hi. Hi, my name is Jan Davies and I'm with Friendswood ISD and I'm joined today with other school districts in the Galveston and Brazoria area. We are so excited to be bringing this topic to you today on the waiver programs. And again, we are so thankful to have Michelle join us from Consolidated Planning Group and be partnering with us today on our Lunch and Learn. So thank you so much, Michelle, and take it away.
You are so welcome, Jan. First of all, I want to thank you for hosting and for always being such a gracious host with us and allowing us to speak to the audiences that you serve. And for everybody who's spending the next hour or so with us, whether it's your first webinar with us or you already know the drill because you've seen our webinars in the past, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, and I will repeat this throughout the webinar as people come in, so I apologize for that in advance, but yes, this webinar is being recorded and everybody who signed up for the webinar will get a copy of the recording and the slides. So don't worry about that. You don't have to even ask for it. It's going to come to you. All of our webinars, after we're finished, we put them on our YouTube channel. So if you've missed any in the past, you're also welcome to check that out. And now we've started doing a podcast. So we put the audio from our webinars out onto a podcast. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast and you want a copy of the slides, you can just email us, contact@cpgcares.net, and we'd be happy to hook you up with a copy of these slides. So again, my name is Michelle Morris. Feel free to grab a drink and a snack. We are in webinar mode, and that means that we cannot see you or hear you, but I know you're out there because I see the number of participants growing. Please, if you have any questions as I'm going through these slides, put your questions and comments in the chat box. That's the easiest way for me to see them. And then I'll get to as many of your questions as I can. And I welcome all questions because, I want to make sure that you are getting the most value out of this that you can. So a little bit about Consolidated Planning Group and who we are and why we do what we do is first up. We are a financial planning firm that focuses on serving families who have special needs loved ones. We are located in Sugar Land, Texas, which is just outside of Houston. And we serve families all across Texas and all across the United States even. The internet has been wonderful to us, and Zoom is wonderful because we don't have to worry about spreading germs to maybe a child who is immunocompromised. And we don't have to worry about the parents having to find a babysitter or something like that to meet with us. I see some spam. Did you know that they could do spam in webinars? Well, they are now, so I'm just going to delete that. Everybody will get a copy of the webinar. The YouTube page, if you go to YouTube and search for Consolidated Planning, we'll be on there. And also there's a link at the end of this webinar that you're just going to be able to click and it'll take you straight to the YouTube page. Anyway, so we serve families all across the United States. We have been doing financial services for over 30 years. And the owner of our company, Allison, has 2 kids with special needs. When she saw that there was so much to know and so many hoops to jump through, she said, I really want to help the community and serve my clients by teaching them these things up front so that they don't have to go through so much of the hassle and confusion, and so that they're a little bit more knowledgeable going into all of this, because she went through it and she said, wow, this shouldn't be so hard. I'm a financial advisor. I should know these things. So that's why we're here to serve you. Again, we have over 30 years of experience with insurance and securities and investments. We are members of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is an industry thing that, just shows that a lot of people trust us with their money. We are fully licensed in insurance and securities. But more importantly, what we're really proud of is that we're members of the Special Needs Planning Planning College, and we're nationally certified as Social Security advisors. So families come to us for special needs planning. And what that entails, we're going to talk about a little bit today, but we're talking about things like protection plans for your family. What happens if you, as the main breadwinner, are no longer here? Or what happens when parents are no longer here to care for their children? How are you going to save up enough money to provide for their future? Or what happens if you become disabled or live too long and you have to start spending your savings, which is going to cut down on what your kids inherit? Well, all of those questions we can help with. We help you understand the lifetime care costs for your child, transition planning, ABLE accounts, and different vehicles where you can have money for your child that won't affect their benefits. And of course, we're here for advocacy and education. Across the United States, there are over 263,000 financial advisors, according to the Bureau of Labor, the Department of Labor Statistics, 263,000 financial advisors. But fewer than 200 of those across the whole United States focus on special needs planning. And so that's why we do what we do. I mean, fewer than 0.1% of all financial advisors really specialize in this area. So you are definitely in the right place when you come to us. And I am just so grateful that you're here today. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you a way to have a free consultation with me or any of the other financial advisors on my team. We can answer your questions. That way if you're a little shy and you don't want to put your question in the chat box, we're happy to meet with you. It's a free meeting. It's over Zoom. Usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes, but we do make sure we get all of your questions answered. So today specifically, we are going to be talking about Medicaid waivers, SSI, and benefits, other benefits that your child might be eligible for because of their situation. So there are 8 different waiver programs listed here. These programs can serve different sectors of the community. Some of them are very broad and therefore have a very long wait list. And other waivers serve a smaller range of people, and therefore they have a shorter wait list. For some of these, we've been told that we should quote 20 to 25 years to get the waiver. So I always suggest that if you even have a newborn and you suspect that there might be some kind of intellectual or developmental disability, you should call and get your child on the waiver waiting list as soon as possible. On the other hand, if you haven't gotten your child on the waiting list yet, and maybe they're a teenager already, that's okay, because even if they don't receive these services until they are in their 40s, it's still going to be helpful for them. So don't hesitate to sign your children up for these waiver programs. You'll see here a listing of all the programs and their acronyms. We have CLASS, which is Community Living Assistance and Support Services. DBMD, that's a narrow one. It serves people who are deaf and blind and have another disability. Or if your child has some sort of a progressive disease where they will become deaf and blind, you can sign them up for that program. There's HCS, which is Home and Community-Based Services. Texas Home Living is abbreviated with TXHML. There's MDCP. This is for children who are medically dependent. Not everybody will qualify for that one. There's also the Youth Empowerment Services, or YES program, and Community First Choice, CFC. Don't worry, everybody will get a copy of these slides and a link to the recording of this webinar later on today with the email that you registered with. So I hope you all gave us the real email instead of a fake one. So this page kind of talks about who these waivers serve. So all of these waivers, they're meant to keep your children in your home or in the community, rather than having to send your child to an institution or a nursing home facility. So the reason they give these waivers out is because it's less expensive for the state to do it this way rather than taking care of people in a state-run institution. And plus, it's way better for the individuals to stay in their community, stay in their home if possible. So they give these waiver programs that are designed to help you pay for things for your loved one. And depending on what conditions they have, what IQ they have, what obstacles they're facing, depends on what waiver they'll be able to get. So the first one, CLASS, it gives supports to children and adults with related conditions. And what they mean by related conditions, there are over 200 different related conditions. We're talking about intellectual disabilities, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, autism, all kinds of things like that fit into the Social Security definition of being disabled. The thing is that this disability has to have begun before your child turns 22. So let's say someone is 24 years old and they get into a car wreck, and because of that, they become disabled. They're not going to be able to get the waiver services because it didn't start before they were 22 years old. Elizabeth, I do see your question and I'm going to get to it. So DBMD, again, that's for deaf and blind and another disability. So if you get on that list, if your child qualifies for that, you can be assured that that list is not going to be very long. HCS, that supports adults with and children with intellectual disabilities or a related condition. They can live in their own home, or they can live in a small group home with no more than 4 people. MDCP is for children and adults who are under 21 years old. They have to be medically fragile and not, this is meant to keep them from having to go to a nursing facility. So if we're talking about someone who really needs 24-hour medical assistance for MDCP. Once that child who is on MDCP, who is medically fragile, turns 21, they don't just get kicked off all the waiver programs, but they do get transferred to a different waiver program, and that is STAR Plus. This is for age 21 and over. Again, people who are more medically fragile, who would probably have to go to a nursing home facility if they didn't have care provided in their home or in their community. You can get on the list starting at age 21, and this one isn't very long. There's not a very long wait. You do use a managed care organization to get your services. And some of the other waivers have that as well, like Community First Choice. Texas Home Living is for children and adults with an intellectual disability or a related condition. And when they're talking about intellectual disabilities with these waivers, they are generally talking about an IQ of 70 or below, or if they have more than just the intellectual disability, then they'll allow about 75 and below. So do make sure that you have your IQ testing up to date if you're interested in these waiver programs. You do not have to prove that your child qualifies for the waiver until your name comes up on the list. So, you know, if you sign up your infant and because you think that there's something going on, and they grow and evolve and mature, and it turns out that they're fine, well, that's fine. When they call you and say that your name is up on the list, you can just say, no, thank you. Or you can call them and ask to have your name removed, which is probably the more responsible thing, to keep that list shorter for others. Yes is youth empowerment services. This is more for mental, emotional, and behavioral difficulties. It's for people who are 19 or younger, and it is another Medicaid program. There usually isn't a wait for the YES program, but again, that has to be where the mental, behavioral, emotional issues are their primary diagnosis. And then community first choice. This is an entitlement program. It's a little different. There isn't a very long wait list for this. And it also allows the state to help provide services, attendance services, Medicaid, things like that, to people with disabilities. It will help with daily activities, health-related tasks. They give hands-on supervision, assistance, and cueing with their program. So, and then again, that one is through a managed care organization, and it helps people learn how to care for themselves. All right. So what services do these waivers provide? Well, on the left-hand side are the services that are available in all of the waivers: the adaptive aids, financial management services, supported employment, employment assistance, minor home modifications, respite hours, things like that. Now, MDCP on the right-hand side, this column, these are available in all of the waivers except for MDCP, because Children's Medicaid already provides these things, so they don't want to duplicate services if you have MDCP. But other things that you can pay for would be professional therapies, prescriptions, dental care, and nursing. There are also services for like transportation, residential vouchers, horse therapy, day habs, which is now called ISS, individualized socialization support. I think that's what that is, and nursing. And you want to be sure, you know, once you get the waiver, make sure that you're taking full advantage of everything they provide, because it's going to save you a lot of money. You know, even the dental plan, I understand from previous webinars that you can get like $2,000 to use on dental needs for your child. So definitely look into all of those things that they offer you and take advantage of it. All right. So how are you eligible for the waiver? Most of them are for all ages, except those ones that I mentioned. That was MDCP is for under 21. Yes is for under 19. And Star Plus is for 21 and over. There is a little bit of a financial eligibility that they're looking at. For all of the waivers, except for Texas Home Living, you have to be below 300% of the SSI benefit amount. So this year, the SSI benefit amount is $914. So that means that if your child makes more than $2,742 a month, they will not qualify for the waiver programs because they make too much money. It does not look at the parent's income. Okay, so doesn't look at the parent's income. And of course, you have to meet the functional criteria for whatever waiver it is that you're looking at. They're not going to, that is in the description I already gave you. And like I said, the eligibility for these waivers, you don't have to prove it until your name comes up on the list. So really, you could put any of your children on the wait list, although that does skew the numbers and make everybody have to wait longer. So please be responsible with that information. All right, I will remind everybody again that everybody is receiving a copy of these slides and the webinar later on today. All right, I do see a question, and I think this is a fine time to answer it. Once you die, will the state of Texas claw back any financial support that they gave you through the Texas Medicaid waivers? Well, there are some circumstances where Medicaid will come back and seek reimbursement. There are places where you can have your money. The government has set this up. It's not like you're hiding anything, but there is an ABLE account where you can put money for your special needs child, and it will not affect their waivers or their SSI. However, Medicaid can claim reimbursement if there is money left in the ABLE account after your child passes away. The other place that they can claim reimbursement from is a first party special needs trust. You can have a first party or a third party, depending on where that money comes from. If it's your child's money, for example, they worked for it, or grandma and grandpa left it to them instead of to the third party trust, or it's a reimbursement from tuition or a reimbursement from SSI, that's their money. So that goes into the first party special needs trust. And that is another place where Medicaid can come back and claim reimbursement if there's money left in that account after your child passes away. The only place really that they won't do that is with the third party special needs trust. So I do see that I have some messages popping in. And I apply for Medicaid for my child now. Well, I don't know anything about your child yet, so I don't know how to answer that. But let me get through this, and then you should make an appointment with us, and I'll be able to answer your question more specifically. So there are two funding paths for waivers. There is the interest list or the wait list, which I mentioned. It's on a first come, first serve basis. All of the state of Texas gets put on this waiting list. And when your name comes up, they give you a call. And the waiting list can be up to 20 years, or actually even more. Last time we had a webinar with somebody from the Health and Human Services. They said that they have about 120,000 people on the wait list, 120,000, and they serve about 1,400 per year. So, that's why the waiting list is so long. And when I asked what can be done, how can we improve this, they said that what you really need to do is contact your congressman, contact your officials, your elected officials, and make a ruckus and ask for more funding for these programs. So that's one way. You can sign up for the list and wait 20, 25 years, something like that, to get services. Another way that you can get funding for the waiver programs is through their Promoting Independence pathway. And there's a crisis diversion slot. That's one way, and that prevents your child from having to go into an institution, but it is only for crisis situations, and we're going to talk about that. The other option in the Promoting Independence path is that it helps individuals move out of institutions. So if they are in an institution of some kind or a nursing home, and the state does its audit and they find out that that person would be better served through the community or through some sort of home-based service, then they would allow them to have the waiver to take care of that. So how do you even get on these crazy long waiting lists to begin with? Okay, so the first thing everybody on this phone call needs to do, or everybody on this webinar needs to do, is call this red phone number. And this is for 3 waiver programs: MDCP, CLASS, and DBMD. Now, MDCP, if you remember, is for medically dependent children. So your child might not qualify. And DBMD is for deaf and blind. So your child might not qualify for that either. But everybody could qualify for CLASS. That is for those 200 related conditions. So that's going to be a long wait list, but you might qualify. So everybody on this webinar should call 877-438-5658 and ask to be placed on the waiting list for those waivers. The next place that you need to contact is your LIDA. Some people call it LIDA, we're not really sure, but that stands for your Local Intellectual and Developmental Disability Authority. If you follow this link here, you can look at the list of all of the local authorities. They serve by county. So you're going to find your county and find the information for your local authority. And then through them, you will get on the wait list for some of the other waivers. Pardon me. And these are going to be things like, they're going to be called Bluebonnet, Texana, the Harris Center, MHMR. Those are some of the local authorities. So if you've heard some of those, that's what they're talking about. They also have a lot of other helpful information on their websites. So do get in touch with your LIDA if you haven't yet. And finally, STAR Plus. If you recall, that's the one for medically dependent children who are over, well, medically dependent adults, 21 and up. So that number for STAR Plus is 877-782-6440. Okay, really cool bit of news. I'm going to go through this piece and then I will get to some of the questions that are in the chat box. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. And when I get done discussing this little bit of information, I'll go to the questions. So all of this time we've been doing these webinars and we always say, man, it would be so much easier if you could just sign up online, or if you can see where you are on the wait list online. And finally, someone has answered our cries for help, and they put the interest list wait online. So if you are on the wait list for one of these programs and you want to find where you are on that wait list, how much longer you might have to go, you want to go to yourtexasbenefits.com and log into your account, or set up an account if you need to do that, that's fine. So this is what the page will look like, yourtexasbenefits.com. So once you create your account or you log into your account, you're going to go on the main page. There's a little thing at the top that says Manage. That red circle isn't quite in the right place, but you want to click on Manage, and it will pull up this page where you could click the Interest List Manager. Okay, so you're going to go to Manage, then Interest List Manager. And then once you click on the Interest List Manager, you click View Details. It'll pull you up. You click View Details, and then it will show you, there you go, which lists you are registered for. And then what number you are on that list. And, if you're within 1,000, maybe you're within a year or two of services, but you'll be able to at least get some idea of where you are. And then if you look at these lists and you say, oh, pardon me, my dogs are being loud. If you say, oh, I thought I was signed up for DBMD or whatever, once. I apologize for that. There's a stranger in the front yard. Anyway, if you think, oh, I thought I signed up for this other waiver program, but it's not on there, well, then you can just go back to your local authority, your LIDA. That's the same website that I showed you previously. And you make sure that you call them or contact them and get on their list. Okay. So I'll take a few questions while we look at this page. Let's see. Will a disabled adult's waiver eligibility be affected if someone claims him or her as a dependent? In other words, will the patient's income be looked at if they claim someone as a dependent? Or parents' income, I think is what you meant. Okay, I got it. So it doesn't really matter. If you claim somebody on your taxes, for example, no, it doesn't matter what the income is. Once your child is over age 18, they don't look at the parent's income anymore. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Good morning. I have a special needs kid with cerebral palsy. Our income is higher than the 198% to qualify for Medicaid. Can I sign my kid up for the class waiver? Well, again, it doesn't matter what the parent's income is. It matters what the child's income is. They can make up to $2,742 this year and still qualify for the waiver programs through Medicaid. So definitely sign your child up. I apologize if I missed this info already. Are there waivers that assist with housing costs? Yes, there are. Specifically, HCS helps a lot with housing costs, but some of the other waivers also can. And you're talking about a person who does not need a live-in caregiver, but somebody who needs a group home or just some supervision. Yes, it can help pay for that. The caveat is that you need to find a community or a group home that will accept the waivers. And that's not always easy. Okay, that's all the questions for now. We have had just an FYI. In the past, we have done panel webinars with different residential communities where they come on and representatives from different communities talk about their particular community for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And you can go see those on our YouTube channel. Again, the link is coming. And check out some of the available residential communities in the area. Okay, so I mentioned that there is another way besides the 20-year wait where you can get the waiver programs. The first one is a crisis diversion spot. Now, we really hope that you never ever need this, but if your family is in crisis, you can contact your local authority, your LIDA, and tell them that you want an HCS crisis diversion waiver. Now, when we're talking about being in crisis, we're talking about maybe one of the parents becomes ill or disabled or passes away. And we're talking about serious illness. So like, if I'm taking care of my child with a disability and all of a sudden my husband gets a serious cancer diagnosis, and now I have to also take care of my husband, they would consider that a crisis. Or if my husband passes away and now it's just me taking care of my child, or maybe my parents become ill and they have to move in with me, and now I'm taking care of a parent and a child, that could be considered a crisis situation. What they're looking for is things that are so disruptive to your life that your child might have to go live in an institution or in a nursing home. If your child is becoming a threat to themselves or others, or if they're running away, those are also crises that they take into account. Okay, so your LIDA will help you with the process. You have to stay involved though. And if you're having troubles with that, let us know and we can help talk you through it or find some other resources. But again, we really hope you don't ever need that. The other situation where you might be able to get a waiver immediately rather than through the waiting list is a pre-admission screening and resident review. This is when you are moving your loved one into a nursing home or a state-run facility of some kind, and you go to, sign them up and check them in and move them in. They're supposed to do a pre-admission screening where they can determine, if the individual would be better served by having a waiver. Sometimes they do resident reviews. If somebody is already living in a nursing facility, they go back and check things out and do a review to see if the waiver would help that person be able to live in their own home or their family home or out in the community. So we are special needs planners. We're financial advisors and special needs planners. And we help families with their special needs planning all the time. So what does that mean when we say that? And how do you get started? Well, we think it's really important that you work with a special needs planner to help you think of all the stuff you need to do to take care of your loved one and what their future looks like and formulate a plan for them. There is a big difference between the special needs planner and the special needs attorney. So we as financial advisors help you with the money part. We're going to think about things like the future cost of care, the benefits that your child should get and that you will get from your Social Security, and your retirement income needs, all of that sort of stuff. And we look at it through the lens of knowing that you have a child who might not be able to work or might not be able to be independent and might need you to take care of them for the rest of their lives. A special needs attorney, you need them to help you with the paperwork side of things. Those are things like your will, your special needs trust, guardianship, or powers of attorney, or things like that. And we can refer you to a special needs attorney. We don't work with them and they don't work with us, but we know through our clients who is recommended in the area and who are the experts in the area, because you, especially when it comes to your finances and your legal stuff, you don't want just anybody doing that, because you're going to end up spending more money to fix mistakes than you would have just spent in the first place by going through an expert. Gather together all of your planning documents, what you've already got in place financially and legally to protect your child. So do you already have power of attorney or wills or a letter of intent or things like that? Grab those. Do you already have investment accounts and life insurance and a 401k and a 529 savings plan? Gather up those documents. Once you have those all together, it's much easier to help you understand where you need to go and how you're going to get there. When you're driving your car and you're going someplace new and you're going to use your GPS, the GPS needs to know where you are to tell you how to get where you're going, right? So that's the same thing with your finances and with your legal planning. We need to know where you are to help you understand where to go to get where you need to be. I do see another question. My husband was laid off and he already found a job. Yay! But the insurance services for the whole family don't start till December 1st. Is there any way I can sign up my special needs daughter in Medicaid with Medicaid for just a month? I do think that you should call the Medicaid, call your local Social Security office maybe for help, or do apply for Medicaid. The worst that they can do is say no. There is COBRA, but I know that's very, very expensive, but that would cover you with the insurance as it was at the old job until the new one kicks in. But gosh, yeah, that is expensive. So try with Medicaid. I don't know the answer absolutely, but the worst they can do is tell you no, right? Okay, develop a letter of intent. That's our next bit of advice. A letter of intent, and we do whole webinars on the letter of intent, but this is a document that you would write that will tell somebody who might have to step into your place all about your family and especially about your loved one who has a disability. So you know more about your child than anybody else probably. And if you were to pass away and someone has to come in and start taking care of your family, this is the place for you to put everything that you possibly can that's going to help that person make a smooth transition. So of course, all the medical, what doctors does your child see? What medications are they on? What do you already have in place for them? Those sorts of things. But also you want to think about their little idiosyncrasies. What do they need for their bedtime routine? What meals are they absolutely not going to eat? So that, if someone steps in, they don't accidentally serve your kids spaghetti, knowing, and that if you serve your kids spaghetti, it's going to end up on the wall and the ceiling because they hate it, whatever it may be for your family. You can put in your religious beliefs and values, what your child enjoys doing as hobbies, all of those kinds of things to just help the next person who might need to step into your shoes. This is something that, as a former English teacher, I always say, start it on your computer, come back to it and change as, you can change it easily as your child grows and evolves and matures. You can print out the latest version and put it in your Go binder. So that way it's there. And then the next time you revise it, print out the latest version and stick it in your binder. It's really not hard once you get started, but give yourself some time to get it done. It's not the type of letter that you can write overnight. It can be emotional. And think about your vision of how you want your child's life to look when you're gone or in the future, and also how you want your future to look. Do you want to be able to travel in your retirement? Are you going to have the means to be able to do that? Do you want your child to live at a certain residential community or with a certain family member? Get all that stuff out and in writing and get planning so that you can make sure that that stuff happens. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So let's move on to talking about funding. How will your child's care be funded once you're gone? We kind of assume that while you're here on Earth, at least while you're making money and working, you are just going to pretty much pay out of pocket for your child's care, right? Just as parents do, but even as your child turns into an adult, you're just pretty much going to take care of them. That's very, very common. But ways to help make sure that your child's care is going to be funded once you're gone. You want to make sure that you don't jeopardize any of their state or federally funded benefits. So that would be SSI, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the waivers, things like that. You can establish a special needs trust, and you can also have an ABLE account. Those are two places where you can have money for your child that the government does not count that against the other benefits. Your life insurance and your investment assets, things like that can go into the special needs trust because there is not a limit on how much money you can put into the special needs trust. It's important that you have an attorney set that up for you. And then a company like mine can help make sure it's invested wisely to grow for your child. The other place that you can have money for your child would be in an ABLE account. So many people have heard of a 529C, that's a college 529 college savings account. This is very, very similar, except it's a 529A for ABLE. C for college, A for ABLE. With an ABLE account, if your disability began before you turned 26 years old, you can have an ABLE account. There are limits to how much money you can put in each year. So for example, this year, the limit is $17,000 you can put into the ABLE account. You can put in more money if your child is working, or they can put in their money if they're working. The ABLE account can be used for really anything. It actually stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So anything that helps your child achieve a better life experience, you can use the ABLE account for. There's one more thing that you need to know about the ABLE account, and that is that it cannot go over $100,000 or it will jeopardize your child's benefits. Okay, so that's the limit in your ABLE account, $100,000. So that's why, life insurance is typically more than $100,000. You don't want that to go to your ABLE account. You want that to go to the special needs trust. But the ABLE account is for smaller amounts. It's kind of a save to spend account. You don't want to just let money sit in there for 20 or 30 years. You want to use it. You want to put money in there that you can use. I did see someone raised their hand. I don't know if that was a mistake or on purpose, but go ahead and put your question in the chat box if you do have a question. That way I can see it as I'm talking. So, we know that it probably keeps you up at night thinking about and worrying about who is going to care for your child when you can't do it anymore. Quick question about ABLEs. How do you start an ABLE account? There are over, I think last time I checked, it was 48 different ABLE accounts across the United States. You can use any of them that you want. You do not have to use the ABLE account that was started in the state where you live. You can choose any of them. We typically refer our clients and help our clients set up one that is based out of Virginia. So we really like this particular ABLE account program because the fees are reasonable. They are good stewards of your money. The money gets invested and then it grows, and then that growth is not taxed. But we can definitely help you set up an ABLE account with we ask you some questions and gather some information from you, and then we can initiate the entire process. Or you can do it on your own. You do not need a professional to help you with the ABLE account, but we don't charge anything for it. So whatever you prefer to do. Can an ABLE account be set up in any type of bank account, or does it have to be a specific type? So your ABLE account, it does have to be an ABLE account. Like I said, there's many different choices. For example, there's a Texas ABLE. The one in Ohio is called Stable, a stable account. The one that we use in Virginia is through American Funds. There's many all throughout the country. And Jan says we have a lunch and learn on ABLE accounts coming up next year, March 29th. We also have ABLE account webinars on our YouTube channel. So Elizabeth wants to know, what are the advantages or differences between ABLE and a special needs trust? And there are reasons that you need both. Okay, these things work very well together. So let's start with the special needs trust. This is the special needs trust hand. This one. Special needs trust, You can put as much money as you want into a special needs trust. But your special needs trust, you should not use this money for food, shelter, utilities, cash, things that your child needs every day. You shouldn't use the special needs trust for those things, or else they will lower the amount of SSI that your child gets by 1/3. So they're gonna, if you use your special needs trust for daily life, they're going to take away some of your SSI. Okay, so the ABLE account, there is a limit to how much money you can put in. You can only put in $17,000 a year. You can put in more if your child has a job, but $17,000 a year, $100,000 total can go into your ABLE account. But the difference is you can spend that money on anything that you need for your child. So a lot of times we'll see parents maybe move money from the trust into the ABLE account to be able to pay for food and shelter, room and board. Or we'll see parents take some of their SSI, their child's SSI money, and move it into the ABLE account. And then larger amounts like an inheritance or life insurance go into the special needs trust. It just depends on what works best for you and how you play the game. And it is a little bit of a game, making sure you have these things set up correctly. Both ABLE accounts and special needs trusts are interest earning. The ABLE account typically charges a 3.5% upfront fee. So let's say you have some money gathered up, $5,000, and you want to open an ABLE account and set that money aside for your child to use in the future. We can set that up for you. They take 3.5% right away as a maintenance fee, but then that money never has any fees on it again. It's the one-time upfront charge. Then they invest the money wisely, conservatively, but it's still, over the past 10 years, we've seen about 8 to 9% growth. So as long as you keep the money in there long enough to earn back that 3.5%, you can consider it as not having a fee. And you can think about the fact that it does not count against your child for SSI and Medicaid. And that's why it's so important to have it. But yes, they do invest the money, and then that growth is not taxed. Now, when you have a trust isn't really a specific kind of an account. It is how the account is titled. And that money, it can be invested like any other account. $100,000 in the ABLE account at a time. Money can pass in and out, so that in total, maybe you've used the ABLE account for $300,000 worth of money. Just don't let it accumulate to go over $100,000. And SSI, I see a question in the chat box that says, at what age can we apply for SSI? Well, you can apply for SSI for your child at any age. However, when your child is under age 18, they will look at the parent's income and assets to see if your child qualifies for SSI. So, oh, there's some more spam. Wonderful. So if your child is under 18, then the parent cannot be making more than $1,470 a month and cannot have more than $2,000 or $3,000 in their name, depending on certain other rules, cannot have more than one vehicle, cannot have more than one house. So many people, your child will not qualify for SSI until they turn 18. At age 18, they do not take the parent's income or assets into consideration anymore. They look at only the child's income and assets. So as long as your child is not making more than that $1,470 a month, and they don't have more than $2,000 in a bank account, they can still have it in the trust or the ABLE. But as long as they don't have it in their name in a bank account, then they should be able to qualify for SSI. Okay, I think that's all the questions for right now. So let's go on. Who is going to take care of your child when you can't anymore? Thinking about this now, we know it's hard, and we know it's a very sensitive subject and a sensitive decision, but it's important to think about it ahead of time, because the sooner you start thinking about these things, you can make small incremental changes and make plans and do things that are going to set your child up for success in the future. And it might be something like, if you think that Aunt Millie is going to take care of little Jacob once you're gone, you want Aunt Millie to be spending time with little Jacob, and you can have time to foster that relationship and build their relationship. You can have time to tweak your life insurance to make sure there's enough money for Jacob to live in a residential community. You can tweak your investments and turn the knob a little bit to earn more on your investments. Think about what is going to happen after high school. Is Jacob going to sit on the couch and play video games all day? Or is he going to go to a day program or a transition program or a vocational program? There are educational opportunities out there beyond high school that are geared for children who have disabilities, even intellectual disabilities. There are the residential programs, and you really should start touring residential programs early, because they can fill up, they can have wait lists, and it's good to find, take your time and find the right program for your family, so that if there is a wait list, that's not going to throw all your plans off the rails. And do make careful consideration before you just say, oh, well, Jacob's big sister is going to watch after him when we're gone, because there could be a lot of resentment built there. Maybe Jacob's older sister might have her own family and her own job and goals and children, and feel a little bit obligated to take care of her brother. And maybe Jacob, this has been his sister all this time, and now you're going to put her in the role of mother, and Jacob might feel a little bit resentful towards her for that. So just be very careful in that case. Oops, I went the wrong way. There we go. Some things to keep on your radar, and things that we talk about a lot, those waiver programs, SSI, SSDI, ABLE accounts, designating your beneficiaries correctly. You do not want to leave money to your child directly. You want it to go to their trust. If you leave it to them directly, there will be consequences to their other benefits that we have to watch out for. But if it's already done, it's not the end of the world either. So just set up an appointment with us, and we can help you on that stuff. We have a link here. Again, when you receive these slides later on today, this link will be clickable. It will take you to our website events tab, and you're going to be able to sign up for all of our upcoming webinars. This is our team. Again, we're based just outside of Houston. We work all across Texas and all across the United States. And finally, I'll leave this slide up as I answer any last questions. We offer a free consultation to anybody who has questions. And because you signed up for this webinar with your email address and phone number, we will be reaching out to you. I'm sure you are aware that that's what people have to do in this day and age. But we just want to know, do you have any additional questions, and would you like to set up a chat with us? This is over Zoom. It typically takes between 30 to 45 minutes. And our main goal, the first priority, is to answer any questions that you have. After we answer your questions and we get to know you a little bit, we will go through how we work, what we charge, what exactly we do for our clients. But again, you get your opportunity to pick our brain for a while and get your questions answered and find out any additional information that you need. So especially if I didn't get to your question today, just make an appointment. We don't bite. It's easy to sign up. We're all very friendly. Look at these smiling faces. Come on. Who wouldn't want to talk to us, right? So we will follow up with you just to make sure you're taken care of. Okay. So I'll leave this up. You can use the QR code or copy down our contact info. When you get the slides later, all of these links down here, this one will take you to our YouTube channel. And then, what is that? Instagram, sorry, podcast and Facebook. Okay, so I do see another question. Is the money taken from your income to the ABLE tax deductible? Okay, so there is not a federal tax deduction for the money that you put into your ABLE account. There's no federal tax deduction. Some states do give you a deduction on your income taxes, but since there is no income tax in Texas, they cannot give you a deduction on that. If you're from another state, though, there might be a deduction for money that goes into your ABLE account. You would want to check with your CPA on that. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Again, if you're on the podcast and you want a copy of these slides, simply email us, contact@cpgcares.net, or call us at 281-690-1177, and we'd be happy to take care of you. All right. Check out our other webinars on our YouTube channel, and please reach out to us or set up an appointment when we reach out to you. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here with me today. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and happy Halloween coming up soon if I don't get to talk to you before then. Bye, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for attending.